Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about the underlying theory. Don't worry, there's not much math, and I'll go through this pretty quick. With Twitter, you're connected to a certain number of people. You have your connections, they see your tweets, and then depending on how it's set up, you see theirs. But your connections, also have other connections. And as your message goes out, it creates this multiplier effect as your connections pass on to their connections. So in this particular example, you can see that even though you're connected to two people, if those two people pass on information about your demo or your single or a tour schedule, then you can easily see that just by two people reading your message, now you've reached six people. And that multiplier effect gets pretty strong when you start talking about thousands and thousands of people. Now imagine that you're planning a tour or releasing an album, and you have just a few hundred connections at first. Well, if each of those folks have hundreds of connections, that math gets pretty big. Those numbers get pretty big pretty quick. That's why Twitter is an important tool. It's not the people that you're connected to, although that's high on the list, but it's the multiplier effect that really gets going. So, how can a band really hit the jackpot using Twitter? Well, you can gain new fans. Um, Actually, that should say gain new fans, not users, by having people pass on your information and then them connecting directly to you. You can drive people from your Twitter account to your website, and hopefully they'll sign up for your newsletter, their mailing list, or download whatever music that you have. And you can use Twitter to plan a tour. So if you're going out and going up the East Coast or on the West Coast, or you're making a tour down south or up in the Northeast, wherever, ask your connections and ask them where they would come to listen. Ask them if they know anybody in whatever state that you're going to look at. And I think you'll find pretty quickly it's a much smaller world over Twitter, and you can quickly find folks and places to play. And then the obvious thing is just you can promote your album sales if done properly to help make a little bit of cash. Now, that being said, there's a couple of best practices that you want to follow. If you're just starting out, or if you're really ramping up your followers, make sure that you start sharing first. Don't start passing off all the information about what you're doing. Don't make it completely about you, but start providing other information. Form relationships with people. Have short conversations. There's not a whole lot that you can say due to the character length, but you'd be surprised how quickly you'll start to learn people's personality. And that's what you want to do is you want to form relationships first, and then start spreading the word about your own band. Help other people if people need suggestions in your area, provide that information. If there's other bands that need to get recommended, recommend those bands. Put some goodwill out over Twitter, and it'll come back to help you. And last but not least, I've said this a couple of times: don't spam, don't overtweet. It's one of the quickest turnoffs for a new follower. When I get a new follower, is if it's just a constant stream, of whatever, of random stuff. Now, sometimes there's a lot of good links, and sometimes I would expect there to be a stream of information. For example, if I connect to a news site, but for the most part, if I connect to a new band or a new label or a new person, and there's just a stream of information, the first thing I do is determine if it's relevant, and if it's not relevant, then I either delete them or put some kind of filter on. So those are the best practices that you want to follow. Here's the top 3 Twitter tools that I use, and I would recommend them to you. First of all, there's hundreds of tools that are available. Uh, with the growth rate of Twitter, I can't even explain to you the rate of tools that are coming out every day. Go to Google, and in the search bar put Twitter tools, and the whole entire front page will come up, not just with the tools themselves, but with list of tools. So you'll see entries of 100 tools for Twitter, 50 tools for Twitter, 140 tools, all of these things. You'll run out of time before you run out of tools to be trying. The top 3 that I use are the search function on Twitter, search.twitter.com, and I use this to look up band names, to look up trends, to look up specific keywords that I'm interested in. And you can do the same thing. Search for your band names. Search for band names that are artists that you admire. See who's talking about them. and use search effectively to look for keywords and information related to your music genre and your band itself. Look for local venue names. After you've done, if you're planning a tour, look for bar names in that particular area, and you'll find users up there. Twirl is a desktop client. I use that running instead of using a full browser. The browser shuts down when I'm shutting the browser down, and when I want to get some work done, I'll leave this local client up, and it provides a lot of flexibility. I like the interface a little better than the Firefox client, but I use this on my desktop. And Twitter Local. It's twitterlocal.net, and that's where you can find local fans. You can search by zip code and define an area. So, 10 miles out, 30 miles out, 10 kilometers out, whatever, from a particular zip code. And everybody that's tweeting in that particular area will show up on Twitter Local. So you can use that to kind of connect with people who have similar interests than you. So those are the top 3 tools I would start playing with. Once you get those or start using those effectively, go to Google and do a search. Okay, that's going to wrap this up. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm working on some more, and I hope to have those up soon. Go to the site, join the mailing list, and my name on Twitter is /Infinite Fanbase. Okay, thanks so much.